Welcome back, folks. I'm Jake Ellenbogen. Today, we're going to be talking about something a little bit, let's just say, more serious than normal. Unfortunately, Alaric Jackson was arrested on Monday night with a felony domestic violence charge. So we're going to get into what that means, what's going to, come down the pipe here, and potentially what the Rams can do about this. Before we get into it, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Also, be sure to follow me on all social media at JK Bogan. And, of course, check out today's sponsor, Prize Picks, because you can play $5 and get $50 in lineups using the code HMA. The link's in the description below. It's available in 40 states. You pick 2 to 6 players. You choose more or less on their stats, and you get started on earning cash prizes while watching sports. They have all sorts of fun ways to get involved with the games, and you should definitely be using Prize Picks today to, add some fun to watching a game. Maybe you're not that interested in the NBA Finals, but you want to be. You can obviously add something to that by using Prize Picks. So NBA, NHL, NFL, MLB, you name it, they likely have it available to be played over on Prize Picks. All right, guys. So, look, I'm not TMZ, okay? I don't like reporting this stuff. I don't like talking about this stuff. As you know, I like to stick to football. But unfortunately, this is a big deal. And it's a very serious thing. Alaric Jackson, was arrested at his home in West Hills, California. There's a felony domestic violence charge. I don't take any of that with a grain of salt. Everything relating to a felony or anything relating to domestic violence should be taken seriously all times. Basically, what we know is that the authorities responded to a domestic battery call around 10:46 p.m. And Jackson and a woman, as they're calling it, were involved in a verbal argument. Jackson allegedly believed the woman was recording him, and he attempted to wrench the phone from her hand, leaving visible scratch marks on her arms. The charges essentially were that Jackson was booked early Tuesday morning at Van Nuys Community Police Station on a felony charge of willfully inflicting corporal injury on a spouse or cohabitant. So I believe this is his wife, and they're calling her just a woman. So wanted to make that clear. He posted a $50,000 bond, was released from custody a few hours later. His first scheduled court appearance is set for June 30th, 2026. And there is a little bit of a history here. I've had some good experiences with Jackson on social media. So I'm not trying to just assume anything here. I'm not trying to take a bias or anything like that. But he does have a history. I mean, this is not his first issue. He served a 2-game NFL suspension in 2024 following an investigation into allegations that he recorded an intimate partner without consent. You can fill in the blanks there. So there's some baggage here. There's a lot going on. Obviously, first and foremost, I hope that the woman, who I believe is his wife, is okay. Obviously, I have a no tolerance policy to domestic violence. That said, I think we need to wait for the details here. We need to wait for the NFL investigation, all of that, before we can actually say whether or not this or that is going to happen. But right now, what could this mean for the Rams? Because the timing of Jackson's arrest is very, very problematic, and here's why. So it creates some cloudiness for the franchise across their financial, disciplinary, and roster fronts. I mean, first and foremost, you're talking about, a potential long-term suspension here. And the reason I say that is because Jackson is a repeat offender under the NFL personal conduct policy. So he faces the realistic threat of a lengthy multi-game suspension from Roger Goodell. If convicted, or if the league's independent investigation finds any merit, he could miss a major portion of the 2026 regular season, and that would put him at about 6-game suspension. So losing your left tackle for 6 games is significant. They lost him for 2 in the past. It was kind of really quiet in 2024, but now this is the second time he could miss significant time. In addition to that, in 2025, the Rams locked in Jackson for a 3-year, $57 million extension, and he's going to have a cap hit of $25.3 million for the upcoming season. So depending on, the standard NFL contract clauses regarding felony arrests and, conduct detrimental to the team, the Rams may have grounds to void his remaining future guarantees. This is where it becomes very interesting, and this is where the financial implications do come about. And then, of course, he has, the critical, effect on the field. I mean, if he's not playing, the Rams are down to essentially a rookie who's had a lot of experience in college, 7 years, I might add, in Keegan Tross, who can play all 5 positions. And then, of course, you have A.J. Arcuri, who's kind of just stayed around in the background and has always been on the practice squad or has even been called up to the 53. Or you have David Quesenberry, who is a veteran in his mid-30s that they signed this offseason to come back. So it's not a ton. It's not like the best options ever. I mean, Jackson started 16 games last year, really showed, the willingness to stay healthy last year. And, he was an anchor and really protected Matthew Stafford's blind side. So, if Jackson is forced away from the team, this is going to really shuffle their offensive line, in my opinion. And on top of that, it is something to keep in mind because not only did you have the 2024 instance and you had the 2026 instance now, but you also had 2 blood clots. So there's a lot of baggage here. Obviously, some things you can control, some things you can't. But Alaric Jackson, I mean, this is concerning. This is absolutely concerning. It's not to say that 100%, like we don't know the full story, right? We don't know what led up to it. And it doesn't sound like that bad. Like, and understand when I say that, it doesn't sound like he beat her, like we hear all the time. It sounds like this may have been a misunderstanding, but then it was escalated. And so this is where we need to wait for more details. But all I can do is speak on what we know. And I mean, it's a felony charge. So there has to be other things that we don't know yet. And that's why it's best to just, wait for it. This is not acceptable. I mean, when I say it's not that bad, I mean, it's not like the stuff that we've seen from like Greg Hardy and what have you, but it's still not acceptable in any case. And so that's the thing is that, the team released a statement, quote, "We take these matters very seriously. Due to this being an ongoing legal situation, we cannot comment further at this time," end quote. But I do remember, Jackson being sued by the woman who he was recording her without her consent, and then refused to delete the video and then essentially was taunting her with it. So there's some stuff here. And I remember Sean McVay saying something to the effect of, this is not something like we deal with. So back in 2024, that was like considered, okay, this is different. Is there any chance that the Rams cut Alaric Jackson over this? I wouldn't say that there's no chance. I think there's a possibility if, this deems to be something that's like, more the details come through, it's worse than it sounds. But yeah, I mean, right now, this can't happen. Like, your team, you are the favorite to win the Super Bowl. The only thing that can stop you from winning the Super Bowl are injuries and stupid things like this off the field. It's not that I think domestic violence is like, I'm not calling it stupid. Like, obviously, it's a real thing and it should be taken seriously, but it's stupid to do stuff like this. Like, it's just really dumb. You should know better. You have a big, fat contract. You've been playing in the NFL for a minute now. You should know better. You owe it to your team to know better. We just went through this with Puka Nacua, not on this level, not anywhere near this level, but we went through this with Puka Nacua. A lot of different things going on, creating a distraction in the offseason. Now he's back. It seems like things are going well for him. And now, out of the frying pan into another, and you have this, it's just like, ooh, when does it end, right? So really frustrating, obviously, and I hope everybody is okay. I hope that this isn't as big of a deal as it sounds. I'm hoping that we find out that Alaric Jackson, maybe he didn't do this or whatever. I don't know what I'm hoping, honestly. I just want this to work out in a way that doesn't, it's not necessarily just about the team at that point. It's about the human being, and it's about both human beings. So obviously I want everyone to be okay in this situation. Now, from the football aspect, because I don't like talking about the TMZ aspect of this, but the football aspect of this, I can address. So we already mentioned Arcuri, we already mentioned Keegan Tross, and we already mentioned, we just talked about Quesenberry. So who else comes to mind after this? Well, I think it's important to realize something here. This is coming at a bad time because of the whole Aaron Donald thing. I can't stress that enough. The Rams, it's not going to be like easy. They'll figure it out. But when Aaron Donald comes back, because I believe it's a when, not if, it's going to be a matter of moving around money and trying to fit him into the cap, right? And that's not easy to do. They can do it, and they will do it as long as he agrees to come back, but it's not going to be easy. And this doesn't make it any easier because with Alaric Jackson potentially looking at a 6-game suspension due to being a repeat offender, well, now your in-house options, as I already mentioned, are there, but then your out-of-house options, you may have to actually pay. I mean, you look at Taylor Decker, asked for his release from the Lions in March. This is somebody that might cost a little bit. Joe Noteboom, former Ram, he's available. Kelvin Beachum, he's available. Cornelius Lucas, former Ram, he's available. So you need money to pay these guys, right? Not a ton of money, but Taylor Decker, you might need something there. So that's something to keep an eye on. Taylor Decker is the guy that I'm looking at, former left tackle in Detroit. Obviously was there with Matthew Stafford, familiarity, seasoned veteran, has played in big games, was really good at one point. He's falling off, but he's still the best option. Joseph Noteboom is an option if you feel like you need more versatility and depth. He can play tackle, he can play guard, so that helps you there. He can play 4 out of 5 offensive lineman spots. Then you got Kelvin Beachum, seasoned vet, probably going to be more of a spot starter backup type guy. Taylor Decker is somebody where if you wanted to make the decision to move off of Alaric Jackson after this, say stuff comes out and it gets really bad, Taylor Decker is somebody that you should actually feel pretty decent about. I know he had a down year last year and he's had issues staying healthy, but I think a change of scenery here, I think he still has stuff left in the tank. He's the only guy I would sign with the full authority of this guy's probably going to be my starter if I sign him. Joe Noteboom, depth piece, spot starter. Kelvin Beachum, spot starter. Cornelius Lucas, spot starter. He's had some good moments. And, of course, he was with Washington. He was with the Rams the first year of McVay, but he's also with Washington with Cliff Kingsbury. So there's a connection there. I'd keep an eye on him, but we'll see what ends up happening. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys. I really think Taylor Decker needs to be given a call right now. If the medicals check out, he makes the most sense. And I don't think Stafford would mind having him either. It's a damn shame if it does end up with Alaric Jackson missing significant time or he gets cut or whatever. But you know what? This is unfortunately the NFL. And, it's not for long, whether it's injuries or you make stupid mistakes on off the field, even on the field, you can lose your job. So obviously I hope everything works out, and I'm not rooting against Alaric. Like I said, I've had good interactions with him in the past. He seemed like a good dude, but at the same time, this is unacceptable. So if it ends up being something bigger than what we know, there's going to be consequences, and the Rams might be without their starting left tackle for 6 games, or they might just end up moving on from him altogether and void his guarantees. I don't know how all that stuff goes into it. There's a lot more that would need to happen in that realm. But when you're trying to fit Aaron Donald into the cap, this is probably the worst time to have this happen, because now you might have to address this position that you felt really good about. So it does hurt the Rams' chances of winning the Super Bowl, because you need a left tackle to win the Super Bowl. But I do believe they're going to be okay. They'll figure out one way or another. So I guess we'll see what ends up happening. But those are my thoughts. Let me know in the comments section below what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care, folks. Later.